Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kerry Stevenson, and today I am speaking with Chris Frostad. He is the president and CEO of Purepoint Uranium, one of my favorite commodities, uranium. Why? Zero carbon. It's a great energy source. And right now, globally, there is an energy, it's almost an energy crisis. I believe that going forward, uranium is going to come to the forefront. So I really wanted to ask Chris to come on today because Purepoint Uranium are up in the Athabasca Basin, which is one of the highest grade uranium areas, districts in the world. So it's an exciting place to be. They've got a lot of projects. I wanted to ask Chris what they're doing and what the upside is going forward. Chris, welcome to Small Caps. Great to see you. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Kerry. It's great to be here.
This is the first time you and I have had a conversation. So let's give a brief overview on who are Purepoint Uranium.
Sure. Purepoint is a uranium exploration company. We operate in northern Saskatchewan, Canada, in an area, as you outlined, the Athabasca Basin. It's kind of uranium central up there. And we have a dozen projects that we've acquired. Certainly during the downtime of uranium, we were able to maintain and acquire other projects. And we now have a fairly strong portfolio of assets. We have projects that we partner with some of the largest uranium suppliers in the world, Cameco and Orano. We've been making some great discoveries lately. So we've got a couple of projects right now that are pretty hot, as we say, and we're anxious to get back and keep working them.
Well, my community loves to hear about what companies like you are doing and what the future is going to be. You mentioned one of your projects is a joint venture. Talk to me about that one and why you think that one's got some good upside.
Well, Hook Lake is a project that we've had for a while now. It's on the western side of the basin. So if you're familiar with the Athabasca Basin, it pretty much spans Saskatchewan. And the major mine trend runs up the eastern edge of the basin. And it was less than 10 years ago, a company called Fission made a pretty significant discovery on the west side, followed up right after with NextGen, another one. And between the two of them, they've put together about 350 million pounds of uranium. Well, at that time, we were also out there with our partners, Cameco and Orano, and working a project just north of them called Hook Lake, and it runs on the exact same trend as those projects. So we've been continuing to explore that area and getting to understand it for quite some time now. Fortunately, we've been able to rely on the financings of our partners during the lean times, but during that time we've made a lot of discoveries and understandings of the area. And right now, what we're actually doing is focusing on a new area within that project called the Carter Corridor. And what we now understand that we didn't 12 years ago is how that uranium is sitting and where it's sitting. Just to give you a quick hit. I mean, the Athabasca Basin is a bowl in the Canadian Shield that's full of sandstone. And typically, historically, we've been looking for uranium where the sandstone meets that basement rock. That's what we were looking for 12 years ago. Since then, we've discovered that the bigger deposits are actually in the basement. They're deeper than that. And a lot of the old exploration used to stop short of where the good stuff might be. So what we now understand is that we did one drill program out there in this area, and we stopped just as we were getting into something that we now recognize as being quite exciting. And moreover than that, we now understand where the heat source, where the uranium was coming from, and how it was getting to some of these deposits, and realized that this big area that we stopped drilling short on actually is in the prime area to have been it would have been the fortune of that uranium coming its way. So that's where our partners and I we are now looking. That's a drill program that will probably happen this coming winter. Right now, we are doing some additional geophysical work to define those drill targets. But as we do every year, we'll be going back to our partners in the early fall with our drill program and plans for the coming year, because we do operate that program as well, which has been a bit of a godsend over the years.
Oh, absolutely. And the joint venture is you have 21%.
We own 21% of the project.
Yep.
Cameco and Orano each hold 39.5%. We're the operator on the project and have been for some time now. And so we earn a fairly healthy management fee for running that project as well. So it has served us from many angles for a while now.
Chris, are they still very supportive? You've been there for a little while. You said that you didn't go deep enough before with your drill program. What's this upcoming drill program looking like? How deep are you going? How many drill holes? When is it happening? Give us a sense of, because to me, this sounds like we haven't made the discovery yet, but goodness me, we're very close. We're close to the heat source. We think we know a lot more than we did before.
See, it's a large project in a large area. So the Patterson corridor, which is where we know the next gen and the fission deposits are, runs up the center of the claim block. There's two other corridors that run parallel to it, and we're looking to the one now to the west. It's got an ideal setting. Our one drill program that we did out there 10 years ago, we now see that rock and recognize it for what it is. We recognize that we were running into the radioactivity we look for. We were running into the alteration and all the other clues that we're getting into something good. We are going to be proposing probably a dozen holes. It won't be they're not that deep, because we're at the edge of the basin. And as I mentioned, it's a bowl. So the closer you are to the edge of that bowl, the you don't have to go down as deep. So a hole out there might be 200, 250 meters of drilling. So we'll be proposing about a $3 million program for this coming winter.
And the majority of that, of course, that $3 million program isn't something that Purepoint has to fully fund. This is the joint venture.
Yes.
And are they very supportive? Do they get what you're doing? They're fully.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, they're actually fabulous partners and have been over the years. I mean, they don't just cut us a check for sure. You know, we have 2 or 3 meetings a year where we are either proposing new programs or reviewing the old programs, and they fill the place with geologists and geophysicists and hammer the heck out of this stuff. So they're very, very helpful in that regard, and the support in terms of where they stand. I mean, over the last 10 years, as uranium has not been top of the list, what we know is that we are one of the few exploration programs that they were funding over that time period, and in some years more money was coming to this project than any of their other projects. So it's very much a priority project for the two of them in Saskatchewan, and we're
and what do you think is going to be? I know there's a drill program coming up. Clearly, they think that there's something there. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Is it what's the next step? The drill program, obviously, but for you to find that heat source, or what's?
Yeah, one thing I can say about the majors, any of them right now, is that they can't free up an exploration budget that doesn't have the potential to deliver at least 100 to 150 million pounds of uranium. As a matter of fact, we identified that we have another deposit on the project that we worked off to about, 13 to 18 million pounds. I mean, we know how much is down there, but once we realized we couldn't add a zero to that, right, we had to move on. So they're very much focused on, as they have to be, on the large tier 1 deposits. And this is an area that they feel has that kind of potential. So what do we hope to see out of the next program? We hope to hit a massive monster deposit in this drill program. I mean, that's what we're always hoping for. But
when does that drill program start? Wait, because you said the winter months,
Sure, it would start in January. Because Saskatchewan is rather flat. There's a lot of lakes, there's a lot of water, there are more puddles than lakes in many cases, but it's easier to work up there in the winter because it's about 30, 40 below, and everything is frozen up solid, so you can drag things in and out. You don't have to use a helicopter, which pretty much doubles your cost.
Absolutely. So, Chris, are you pretty excited about Hook Lake? Is that something that you're like,
Hook Lake
closer?
It has been said is probably one of the best prospects left right now in the basin that's untested for a tier 1 deposit. Because of the size, because of where it sits, because of what is right next door, and because of what how we know that area was formed over time. And like I say, our partners wouldn't be supporting this if they didn't believe that's what was there.
Out of 100% of your time, how much is going into a focus on Hook Lake? Because you have other projects as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, again, because it's in the winter, next winter, we would be raising money. What will typically happen is in the fall, we start working through their budgets. So we will know, by November timeframe, how much money we require to do that particular program, and then we would do a raise for that number, usually in that time frame. We rely primarily on, and we're fortunate to rely primarily on flow-through private placements, which in Canada is a tax-advantaged way of raising money. I can issue you $100 worth of my shares, and you get $100 write-off on your tax return. So it makes it much easier for us to raise money for programs like this. So we don't have to worry about getting too far ahead of ourselves.
Is that fairly popular? I mean, sadly, I'm talking to you from Australia, as you know. We don't have flow-through share schemes down here.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So we. Explain to me how that works, and is that do you raise 100% using the flow-through share scheme?
Sure. So not 100%. So the way it works, I mean, quite frankly, Canada, like Australia, is bountiful in natural resources, and so it really is the government's way of promoting exploration, because as an exploration company, we don't have revenues, unfortunately. Therefore, we have all these expenditures that we can't write off against anything. And so what the government's allowing us to do is renounce that expense to a private shareholder. We give it to you. So it reduces your cost base, and it reduces our cost base. So we can't carry those losses forward in the future. That exploration has to be done in Canada, obviously, and it's only available to Canadian, and the advantage is only available to Canadian taxpayers. So it limits us there, but it has to be spent on exploration. It can't pay my salary. It can't pay for my lovely surroundings, or any overhead whatsoever. Therefore, you do have to raise non-flow through money for that. So in that regard, we do maintain some of the lowest overheads in the industry, just to make sure that we don't have to rely too much on that. And it's provided us with it allows us to raise money at a significant premium over our market value, and reduces the dilution to our shareholders.
I think it is good. And what was music to my ears just then is what you just said, which was, and we have low overheads, because that to me says that the majority of the money is going into the ground, because that's where you make discoveries, not sitting in an office, as you know.
Exactly.
Chris, I want to make sure we cover some of the other projects. Talk to me about the other projects and where you think the value upside may be for shareholders going forward.
Well, one of the projects, we're the most excited about this month is Red Willow. Red Willow is a very large project we have on the eastern side. It sits right on trend with all of the major mines across the eastern side of the basin, and it's right at the edge of the basin as well. So the drilling is shallow and less expensive than if you're trying to drill deep holes. This last winter, we went back to an area called the Osprey Zone, where we had previously drilled a significant lens of uranium. We just hadn't gone back and followed it up because, again, things had slowed down in the markets. It didn't make sense. The markets didn't care. We were focused on Hook Lake. This winter, we went back and started drilling there. And the first thing we would do when you do hit mineralization like that, or uranium, you want to start stepping out and see where it's going and how much you've got. So, and typically you would step out 25 meters, 50 meters, what have you. So we stepped out 50 meters and hit it again, the exact same thing. So then we took a bit of a leap, and we moved out 300 meters and we hit it again.
Oh, wow.
Now within 300 meters, you could fit 2 or 3 of these big deposits in 300 meters. They're usually no bigger than a football field. So then we moved out another 300 meters and we hit it again, and another 3. So we actually were able now, and again, I'm not suggesting that we're drilling into a deposit. It's not. It is a lens of uranium. It's a trail, if you will, that right now we've chased for 1.2 kilometers, nearly a mile.
Are we talking about a decent, I think they call it counts per second. That's how you...
Well, yeah, counts per second is a bit of a misnomer because for a couple of reasons. One, you can't turn that into a grade. You have to get an assay. So because what also makes uranium exploration quite interesting and exciting is because when you drill a hole, almost immediately what you're going to do next, because you do get radioactivity off of it. And we can actually, we have scintillometers that can go down the hole and tell us exactly what we do have, whether we're dealing with thorium or uranium or something else that's giving off gamma rays. And we can actually estimate what the grades might be. And that sort of guides you to the next hole. So we don't have to drill 10 holes and sit back and wait for the assays to figure out what we want to do next. We can chase this stuff. So counts per second is something more that we do to determine which rock we're going to send off to assay than it is to actually say, Eureka, I found something. You can't say that until you've actually done an assay properly.
So what is it that you're finding with these step out? Because you said 50 meters, 300.
Well, what it means is this: uranium is mobilized with a lot of heat, and a lot of oxygen, and then it starts to move. If we've got close to a mile of consistent uranium, that means there was some sort of massive mineralization event in that region. And so now what we're looking for is where it may have turned itself into a deposit. So now we're looking for structure. Okay. So we're looking for proper structure where this would have found a way to come out of that mobilized state, where it was losing its oxygen and forms deposits. I mean, and this is what all of these deposits look like. They've found somewhere to rest. If you look at a MacArthur, you're looking at a thrust fault, something like this, and it lies in that cavity there. If you look at Triple R, which is NextGen's project, there's, it was all that faulting that took it deep. So there's always structure involved, and that's really what we're looking for, is structure. And the second thing is alteration. So this mobilized uranium is cooking the rock at the same time. And when you start to find rock that has been significantly altered from that event, it turns almost to clay. You can stick your finger through some of it sometimes.
Wow.
And that's another indication that you're getting close to something. So our last hole at Red Willow, we drilled under the target area for the mineralization, but we started to hit that alteration and that structure that we would tend to be looking for. And we've got another kilometer of this target area to the north, 1.5 kilometers, and 1 kilometer to the south that we haven't been able to test yet. So we kind of rejigged our priorities. We're actually going to go up there in September. Okay. We'll go against the grain, and we're going to use a helicopter, and we're going to get back there and follow up on a few of those key holes. We will probably wait till the winter again to do more extensive drilling, but we do want to get up and follow up on where we left off and see where that might go. So that's a big project for us right now. Yeah,
Chris, you've been in the game for a little while. Does Red Willow give you that sort of sense that you might be onto something which could be a game changer? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounded.
It is certainly, and where it lives in the basin in general. I mean, it's got all the stuff, right? Yeah. We're right at the edge of the basin. We're looking in a way that people weren't looking 10 years ago. We can draw a line straight up through every major mine in the basin. It runs right up through the middle of that thing. And within it, we actually have about 7 or 8 distinct target areas. Osprey is only one of them. Yeah, we've got 7 or 8 that we haven't drilled yet, and they're good for different reasons. Two others we have, one called Geneva Zone, and there's one called Radon Lake, because the lake there is teeming with radon gas, which is a byproduct of degrading uranium. Yeah, we don't know where that's coming from yet. So we have that project in and of itself is a real toy box for us. And I think the more we can get up there and work that one, we're bound to find something much more significant than we've seen so far.
Not a lot of time left. I've got so many questions to ask you. Quick one. You've been in this business for a while. Is technology changing and helping you to understand more quickly this area so that you can focus, I guess, shareholder funds in a more targeted way?
Yes, I should say yes. I mean, it's been interesting over the last 10, 15, 20 years even to see the advancement in geophysics and what's available now that wasn't available then, to see how deeply we can look that we couldn't see before. Yeah. Our ability to actually tell what we're drilling into on the spot has gotten very advanced. So, I mean, like I say, at the end of a hole, we can drop a scintillometer or a Geiger counter down that hole slowly and bring it back up and get a fairly good estimate all the way up that hole as to grade. of what it is we're looking at. And all of that kind of comes together to help us, and even to see what's in the area. So there's a lot of overlaying of data. It's not just one clue. I mean, I've mentioned two or three, the ones that we look for, but there is certainly so much more data available now, and so much more technology to allow us to analyze it that we didn't have before.
Chris, I'm going to have to get you back on because there's so much more we need to talk about, because we've spoken about Hook Lake and Red Willow, which are a big focus right now. Mm-hmm. You've got some other projects. Are you going to look for partners like you do have at Hook Lake with Cameco and Orano to help you with some of those other projects?
We have been in discussions, obviously, because of what's going on in uranium. There's a lot of people looking for projects, and we have some earlier stage projects that we've been more than happy to kind of share the load with as we move these through the pipeline and advance them. Where some of them are just doing very early stage geophysics on right now. Some are a little bit more advanced than that. So we'd certainly take a look at that moving forward. The Hook Lake situation was a project we earned in on with Cameco and Orano some time ago, when they saw, and it was a very similar situation today, where their organizations and the way they could not put enough money on that project because of all the projects they were struggling with and working on, and they knew that this one deserved more effort, and so we actually earned in on that during a time when it was a little easier to raise uranium money, and that's where we got our position out there, and that's paid off very well for us.
Quick last comment from you before I go into the summary, if you like. The uranium market at the moment, I mean, listen, we all know the markets at the moment are challenging. Where do you see the future for uranium, given we're heading into this? All governments are going, we're not going to have any carbon emissions going forward. This is the best energy source. I'd love your view.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we've all been kind of waiting for this. And I think the underlying economic story behind uranium has really not changed. It's a supply and demand thing, but it is a small market. And so when it does change, it changes rather rapidly. For the last 3-4 years, we've been producing about 30% less uranium than we've been consuming around the world. And that is because back when we had the incident at Fukushima and Japan shut off 10% of the world's nuclear reactors, that wasn't really the problem. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back. The real problem was that Kazakhstan had been flooding the uranium market with low-cost uranium to the point where they went from zero 20 years ago to now be producing 35 to 40% of the world's uranium. That caused a real glut. So that's what we've been waiting for and as a result, the price of uranium goes down, mines get closed off, production drops, et cetera. We've all been waiting for that rebalancing of supply and demand, which we now see happening. The price of uranium has to get up to $60, $70 at least. Yeah. That's the incentive price in order to start turning on mines or building new ones. Right now, it's only sitting around $50. So it's come up significantly, but it's got to go up another 25 to 50% before we hit those incentive levels where we can really start seeing things turned on again. And because of that imbalance, because of that supply shortage, if you will, that's been occurring, we now can see that this is finally righting itself and rebalancing itself. So I think we're only halfway there. We're looking at another 1.5 years of solid support to uranium prices to see it get up to that point. And I think anybody who's in the industry is going to benefit from that. Any longtime uranium supporters, I think they've still got a lot of upside to see. And anybody who's been sitting on the sidelines, again, certainly it's not too late to get in on this, especially now that everything is down as far as it is.
Chris, we're going to have to get you going to have to get you back. I know my mother would be horrified.
No.
We'll have to get you back and have another chat because there's so much
Absolutely.
to talk about. We've run out of time for now. Let's wrap it all up. Give me 3 reasons why you think our beautiful community should be sitting up and taking notice of Purepoint Uranium right now.
Well, what do we got? I think number one is where I just left off. I think the uranium industry in general has got a lot of upside, a huge amount of upside. And quite frankly, there's when you add up the number of uranium focused companies that are out there, the producers, the developers, the explorers, it's not a big slate of companies. Right. So I think anybody who is number one is the uranium market has got a lot of upside to it and a lot of legs. And I don't think you can go wrong right now. Number two, we've got a pipeline of advanced, mature projects right along the way. We've got some of the best partners in the world, and two of the most prospective projects right now going on in the basin. And number three is we've got money in the bank and all the financial support to make sure that we can continue to work those projects during this important time in the sector.
Chris Frostad, the president and CEO of Purepoint Uranium. It's been an absolute delight to chat to you today. Come back soon. Give us an update,
Absolutely.
and we might even focus on some of those other projects as well. For now,
There you go.
Joining me on Small Caps.
Thanks a lot, Carrie.